On the 40 acres, on campus grounds, we gather round, discussing goals and dreams and life's adventures. The Texas Longhorns, they're the talk of the town. High cattails of the 40 acres, where we dive deep into the game day stories, from touchdowns to heartbreakers. We discuss it all, Texas Longhorns glory. Here we gather round each Thursday night, talking sports, it's so alright. From football to basketball, baseball to softball, Tim Wayne and Harry, we cover it all. Sports talk is our passion, our delight. Thursday night at 8:30, we unite. We discuss the scores, the plays, the teams you might. Let's dive into the game, let's ignite.
12 conference champions.
Good morning on a Friday morning edition.
Yep.
Texas Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, had some great times spent with family. And we're back at it. This is the week we've all been waiting for. 13 years in the making. We finally made it. But before we talk about that, Tim Wayne, how you doing, man? How was your Thanksgiving?
I'm good, man. I'm chilling, having a good time, man. You know, got the stuff my face yesterday. You know, so
What was your favorite thing from your Thanksgiving?
My favorite thing to eat?
Yeah, yesterday. What was like boom?
I would say the honey baked ham
Okay, okay.
and the cabbage. I love cabbage. I'm a
Ooh.
cabbage guy. We had deviled eggs. Deviled eggs was fire because they had like little bacon bits pieces on them.
Okay.
Um, Man, that was I would say those were the some of the best pieces. I'm also a dressing guy, so like I'm big on that. So
Go dress.
dressing was always good.
Yep.
And so yeah, those were it for me, dog. I don't do gravy on my dressing though. And we do cornbread dressing, we don't do stuffing.
Correct. We do cornbread.
So
Of
yeah,
course.
we do
Of
cornbread
course,
dressing.
cornbread dressing.
We do
My wife,
sage dressing, not giblet. We just do straight up dressing.
my wife made the cornbread the night before, let it sit overnight,
Yep.
cool it down.
Yep.
Yeah, we had some good dressing as well. We also do not do stuff. So
Wait,
instead of a turkey,
what did y'all eat for dessert?
so we had a few options, obviously because we got the bacon in the house.
Okay.
So we had sweet potato pie,
Okay.
uh, some chocolate pie, and then what else did we make? That might have been it. No, we made something else. Uh, a pecan pie.
Pecan pie is always good, dog. Pecan pie is number one, dog, for me. It's pecan pie, peach cobbler, pound cake. You can't go wrong with those. Those are all like universal. You can eat those all around, like year round, like at any time. And so, but my aunt, she makes this like it's very weird. It's like this Jello, but it's like lemon lime Jello, but it has like
Oh,
cream
okay.
cheese in it, and we
It's
just
like
call it
key
ring.
lime pie.
It's almost like a key lime pie, but it's like Jello. I don't know what it is. It has like pineapple in it. I don't know what it is, but it's
Mm.
good. It's tangy. It's like a cool dessert, so like it's chill because it's Jello. So you eat it, and it's got like I don't know, but it's a good. It's good. It's different, but I enjoy it. And my aunt is the only one that can make it very well.
So, um, instead of turkey this year, because
Oh,
turkey is really dry.
and turkey's hit or miss.
We went to Bucky's and we bought this boudin stuffed chicken.
Oh, I've heard about that. How was
So,
that?
it was so it was awesome. And it wasn't that big, about 5 pounds,
Right,
which I mean, and then we make baked chicken, which is something we eat as well. So it's like whatever.
right.
It was really good. My dad loved it.
Man, that sounds good. Bucky's, we got to talk about Bucky's being like a really good source for like almost everything now.
Hey Tim, you want to leave and come back real quick? You're frozen and it's not looking pretty for the people.
All right.
All right. So while Tim does that, he's had some internet issues this morning. Hope everyone's doing well. As you guys come in, like, subscribe, follow on the YouTube channel. I'll pay the bills. Just get right into it. Of course, fanbattlesports.com, fanbattlesports.com, where you can get the latest and greatest from the AFC South, Colts, the Texans, the Titans, and the Jaguars. FanBattleSports.com. Not a great season going on in the AFC South. If you guys are fans of the AFC South, of course, follow them. Every team has its own show. We have a show. We're looking on bringing on a couple of other shows. If you're interested in signing up for your own show, go to FanBattleSports.com. Hit the contact us link. Get in contact with us. And yeah, we'll help you guys get started, get you a little setup, get you a name, get you all good stuff. So, fanbattlesports.com. Follow us on Twitter at LHFanBattle. We are currently sitting at 2,700 followers. Uh, so follow us on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
Hey, and Tim Wayne is back. Follow us on Twitter. Uh, follow us on YouTube. Give us some subscriptions here. We say we're live every Thursday night usually. And of course, obviously, this week being a holiday, I had some Wednesdays. So the day before Texas 13 years. And of course on YouTube, Longhorn. All right, and if you guys are on the TikTok, follow us at TikTok Longhorn Fan Battle All right, Tim. Where do we want to go in a different order for this? Do we want to talk about the most important piece of this first, or do we want to read?
We can jump right into it. We can jump right into the most important piece
All right.
first.
So probably what we're all here for, right? Trying to figure out what trying to figure out what's going on with Quinn's ankle, right? So he plays a beautiful first half against Kentucky. Probably one of the better first halves that I've seen Quinn Ewers play. And then he comes out and the second half and he's a complete dud, right? He was terrible in the second half. 12 passing yards, couldn't plant his feet, couldn't really move around. And at the time, I didn't really put anything behind it. I wasn't thinking, oh man, Quinn's hurt. But it came out after the game, hurts his ankle.
Yeah.
He has to have an MRI on Sunday morning. The MRI revealed that it was a mild ankle sprain. And a mild ankle sprain can mean a lot of different things. It could be like a mobility based mild ankle sprain. It could just be like you know how you like kind of tweak your ankle, but like you're back and you're good to go, and it was like nothing happened. Could have been one of those with like lingering hurt. But first and foremost, I don't know when it happened. It sounded like it happened like towards the end of the second quarter, right before halftime. Do you remember or can you recall when this injury might have happened?
I want to say between the late second, maybe mid third quarter. From what it seemed like,
I think.
There was like a scramble. I can't remember exactly what quarter it was, but there was like a scramble where Quinn is like he's running, like trying to run out of bounds. And it's like, it's not, he doesn't like fall, but he gets like wrapped up or somebody like attempts to try to wrap him up while he's trying to get out of bounds. And I believe that's where the ankle injury, where it happened.
I remember that play. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was like maybe early third quarter.
Maybe early third. Yeah. Again, it's been so long that, and normally I would go and rewatch the game, but with the holiday, like I didn't do that. I don't remember exactly where the injury happened, but I do believe that that's where that injury did originally happen.
So the injury happens, right? Quinn he's not able to move after that. He's become basically a statue at that point. But it's not like the offensive line played well, so they blocked well for him. So it's not like he got sacked or hit a lot. He just couldn't plant because you can't plant your foot, and it's your the foot you plant on as you throw. His throws are way off.
Yeah.
And it was so disappointing because it really looked like one of those like vintage Quinn games where it's like, oh wow, he looks great. He looks like
he looks
NFL
good.
quarterback, right? The touch pass to Gunnar Helm to get the touchdown. The pass to Isaiah Bond to get the first down, kind of in the middle of the field.
Yep.
That's the Quinn Ewers, and I remember tweeting out, if that's the Quinn Ewers you get, this Texas team can win the national.
Yes.
And we talked about this a little bit last week, right? It's like what the Quinn Ewers you get will tell the basis of how far this team can go, right? If you get first half Kentucky Quinn Ewers, if you get Alabama from last year Quinn Ewers, if you get Michigan Quinn Ewers, Texas is probably the best team in the country. If you get Quinn Ewers, Texas could compete, but I don't know how much of the games that they would win because part of all this is the decisiveness of it, right? It's like making the read, making the throw, and making the plays that he needs to make at critical points of games. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and the thing about finding out about Quinn is that we usually kind of find out pretty early, right? Like you kind of see if he's able to establish some rhythm, you kind of see, maybe they take a shot down the field. You kind of figure out, where he's at. So it's going to be really telling because we found out, like, again, Texas only lost this year was Georgia, but like if you think about it, we looked at what Quinn was able to do in that first couple of plays in that first drive, and we were both like, nah, this doesn't look good, right? Which is one thing that I will admit, like, I think that is very good on that you can see, and definitely from a coaching's perspective, like you can see, like, hey, listen, like Quinn's not having a good best game. He's not looking good. Maybe they could make some changes. There's some things that I want to point out, and once we, review that Kentucky game, there's some things that I want to put. Matter of fact, because it makes sense, and because we're talking about the injury, this is how I knew that there was a situation where there was an issue because Quinn was not throwing the ball. So there's a specific
they were handing it off.
Yeah, there's a specific drive. It's 15 plays for 86 yards. The time was 8:22. Mind you, this is a very impressive drive, but this is how I knew that there was something wrong, because they weren't trying to like do anything.
Yeah.
So Trey Wisner runs for 7 yards. That's play number 1. Trey Reisner for 2 yards. That's number 2. Trey Reisner runs for 4 yards. That's number 3. Trey Reisner for 16 yards. That's number 4. Trey Reisner for 13 yards. That's number 5. Jaden Blue for 8 yards. That's number 6. Jaden Blue for 1 yard. That's number 7. Trey Wisner for 2 yards. That's number 8. Trey Wisner for 6 yards. That's number 7. Trey Wisner for 4 yards. That's number 8. Jaden Blue for 13 yards. That's number 9. Jaden Blue for 3 yards. That's 10. Trey Wisner for 5 yards. That's 11. Trey Wisner for 1 yard. That's number 11. Trey Wisner for 1 yard. That's number 12. Minus the penalties in there. That 1 yard run sets up a touchdown, and Brett Allman makes a kick for a field for an extra point. That took off about 5 minutes off the clock. After that, there was about 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining on the clock after that. So 2 things. That was impressive. Yep. Because they were able to dominate that line of scrimmage. And eventually that's kind of what I wanted to see against Georgia, where they're able to literally just continue to pound the rock. Yep. and make the necessary moves to basically bleed the clock and get these running backs into get these running backs in the offensive line into a situation where they're able to actually move down the field and continue to move the ball and not necessarily put it in Quinn's hands, because he couldn't win the game at that time. Yeah. But luckily they were able to run the ball and be dominant on those lines and move the ball down the field. I thought that was very impressive, but that was also very telling. So when just like Quinn, when Quinn's on, he's on. But when this running attack is on, it's on too. And I think Sark noticed that and was able to make the change. So again, very impressive. I'm really hoping that Quinn is healthy, but I think what's being put out there is a mild, ankle sprain. I think it's more than that. I think it might be a 2. I think it could be a 2, maybe even a 3. And if it's a 2 or a 3, that's significant time out. You're looking at a good month where you need, if it's a grade 3, that can be anywhere from 2 months to 3 months, because it's just, it's higher. The higher it's up, the worse it is.
He's done if it was a 3, right?
Yeah.
The Quinn era in Texas is over.
Yeah, clearly that was. It's clear that it was over.
Maybe even if it's a 2.
Well, even after the win, there was just things that were happening. Quinn goes outside it's senior night, right? So senior night, everybody's coming out. I did not realize. Listen, the fact that Gunnar Helm is a senior makes me so angry because Gunnar Helm has been a very, very focal point of this offense.
Yeah, really
And
good.
I like what we've seen what he could do last year, right?
Yeah,
There were moments and opportunities from last year, but we also knew that JT Sanders was the guy. But we also knew about Gunnar because we had seen flashes of Gunnar in the past. Gunnar is clearly like this year has been one of the best targets for Quinn, and I think he's been one of the best tight ends in the country. Um, and he's really really special. So to find out that he was a senior, not a redshirt senior, but like an actual senior sucked. But just again, there were things that were happening. I don't know if you looked at the after the game. Quinn comes back out on the field. He's taking pictures with his family, taking pictures with his girlfriend.
oh,
So
yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's clear. It's clear that he's out. Regardless if it was injury or just the fact that he wants to go to the next level and see what he can do there. It's kind of clear that that's what he wants to do. So, man, I really don't want him to go out like this. You want him to go out with a national championship. You want him to go out, at least kicking and screaming, because what they did last year was very special. Again, that was a different team, but it was very special.
that was a special season. I think for Longhorn fans, it was special because it had been so long.
Right.
And you come into what that was and could be, right? And it's just like it still could be, but
Yeah.
maybe not in the way that we would have hoped. And listen, we could all we could all be duped into this and say,
Right.
This could just be Sark playing the game, right? And
Yeah.
keeping, for all we know, Quinn could be great, and he's actually doing really well, right?
Yeah. He could be
But
just fine.
you got to play. You got to play the injury game. Oh, he's hobbled around. He's not throwing the ball well. He can't plant his feet, right? Because as we talked about earlier, maybe that's what the Horns 24/7 report said. But I've also heard since then that there's two other sources, uh, inside Texas and others that are saying he's looked fine.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the issue. So listen, we're talking about both ends of the spectrum, but you mentioned Gunnar Helm, and you're like, how pissed you are. You know what? How good Gunnar Helm being like makes me really excited for. It makes me really excited to see the other three tight ends that we've got stored.
Oh,
Spencer
Nyblack,
Shannon,
Nyblack.
not even Nyblack. Nyblack is, listen, to be honest, Nyblack is just whatever, right? But Will Randall, Spencer Shannon, and Jordan Washington, the three freshmen we've been storing, I'm very excited for all three of them.
Yeah.
Specifically, Jordan Washington. Listen,
Yeah, Jordan Washington.
Jordan Washington is a big boy. 250,
Yeah, he's a big dog.
6'7". Oh, that is a grown man.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what we like and enjoyed about Sark's tenure here. It's not about just the recruit. Listen, Texas is always going to recruit Justin.
Right.
Tom Herman was a terrible coach, but recruited top 5.
Yeah, he was recruiting them boys, man.
It's Texas, right? You're going to get top 5, top 10 just by showing up. Now, the thing that Tom Herman lacked that we all hate him for is development. The thing that Sark does really well is you've seen it. Look at Alex Collins. You remember how much crap I gave Alex Collins at the beginning?
You hated him. You absolutely
Alex Collins has looked amazing this year.
Yeah.
Baron Sorrells has looked amazing this year.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are getting developed. So we can now start to put our hands on some not just recruiting chops, but development chops.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why Sark will always be in it, right? Because not only can he recruit great talent, and he can recruit whoever he wants, he can develop. So listen, you might lose a 5-star here and there, but that's okay because you've got development, and guys are going to figure out what's best for them, especially
yeah.
Maybe $14 million, sways somebody. Couldn't be Texas, but it might sway somebody to go up north and play in the cold. But it couldn't be us. So, but I mean, that's kind of going off topic. But I thought it was, while it sucks that we only really got one home because for the most part of the season, it's been the best time.
Yeah.
I'm very excited what that means for the rest of these guys that are sitting there
Yeah.
itching to get into the games.
Yeah.
Now with Arch, like it'll be really interesting. But I will say, if what we read earlier today is true, and this is a question I posed for you, if it is as limited and he's not able to move, and what we read is actually like that devastating,
Mm-hmm.
do you start Arch?
Yeah, I think it's time at that point. You gotta do what's best for the program. In the you have to look at what's best for the program. You want to go down 100%. Like you don't want to save anything because at this rate and what we're trading into is like the wiggle room for losing. You only got one, maybe 2 more weeks of that. Outside
Yeah.
of that, that's it. So you need to really adjust and see what you can do to just make yourself the best team possible. A&M is going to be on fire. This has been again 13 years in the making. And you're going to Kyle Field on a Saturday night, no matter how weird they are, they're gonna be fired up. They're gonna want to play spoiler, and they have something to play for. This is not necessarily a situation where A&M comes in a situation like we're 5-7, we're looking at getting a better bowl game. No, they're looking to go to the SEC championship, because if they go to the SEC championship, that moves them into a spot to potentially be in the playoffs. Now, do I think all three teams will end up getting into the playoffs? Believe it or not, yeah, I do think that
All
there's
three teams.
I do believe that there's an opportunity for A&M to physically slide in there. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you why. I don't think. I believe if Georgia loses, regardless, I think Georgia's going to end up losing. I don't
Georgia Tech.
No, Georgia, like this Georgia, the football team. I listen.
You think Georgia's losing to Georgia Tech this week?
No, I'm talking about any SEC championship.
Yeah.
I think Georgia's going to lose because
regardless of who they play.
Yeah, I'm done with Carson Beck, dog. I'm out on the Carson Beck train. And I give Carson Beck props. I was talking about, he might throw interceptions, but he can fling it. But he does it in the absolute worst time of the game, dude. It's like
He was actually pretty good against Tennessee.
He was good against Tennessee, but I mean the throw that he made against Ole Miss, where he basically threw into like triple coverage on like in your end zone, and basically marching into Ole Miss's territory. You can't do that. You cannot do that. And once it's always one thing to see like the camera doesn't lie. So like the broadcast version, it's different from when you see it at an all 22 angle. When you see it at an all 22 angle, you're like, what are you doing? Listen, I'm no college quarterback, but I know if there's a bunch of guys around one guy, you probably shouldn't throw it over there, and you should look at better options. And there were better options for him. So I don't necessarily know if it was something that he felt like he needed to make a play. I don't know. But that Ole Miss team had me out on Carson Beck.
Here's the thing about Georgia. If Georgia plays Texas, they won't win. If Georgia plays A&M, I think they dog walk.
I don't think Georgia is.
The reason why I think they beat A&M is because A&M doesn't have the secondary that the other teams that they've played have.
You're absolutely right. A&M does not have the secondary, but
they have a terrible secondary.
As far as I'm concerned, outside of maybe a few games, Georgia's defensive line has not looked good since they played Texas.
That's fair. That's a valid point.
And listen, that quarterback out there at A&M, does he have a cannon of an arm? Yeah, sometimes. But one thing what he can do is he can scoop. That's true. One thing that I do like, and we'll get onto this here in a minute, but I do like what Texas is able to do in the secondary and what they're able to do with mobile quarterbacks. We've seen it happen. I'm not worried about a mobile quarterback in this matchup, and that's what a lot of Texas A&M fans are banking on, is that their quarterback is mobile and he is able to throw on the run, and that I'm just not worried about, because we've seen Texas do very well against mobile quarterbacks in the past. I cannot say that for Georgia. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I guess we can go ahead and talk. I think the one thing I'd like to say to that is, if A&M loses this week, which is what you're saying, in order for A&M to have a shot to get in, they have to lose.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're saying that the SEC is going to get 3 teams in, that means you think that A&M beats Texas, and then they lose in the conference. They beat Georgia in the SEC title.
I think there's some other chips that will fall that would allow the SEC to get a third team in.
Because if A&M loses the game this week, they're not letting a 4-loss team in the playoff.
Right.
So in order for A&M to get into the playoff, a lot of chips would have to fall. They would have to be multiple 4-loss teams. And then you have to say, do they even have the best, do they even – basically what you're saying is Vandy has to beat Tennessee. Georgia has to lose to Georgia Tech and then lose in the conference title. Like, a lot's going to have to happen. You're basically asking for mass chaos.
I think that this week is going to do a lot. I think a lot of stuff is going to happen this weekend. I think a lot of things are going to happen next weekend. As I've been in on this Clemson thing. Like, I don't know about Clemson. I've been riding with Clemson. I'm looking at, they got to play South Carolina this weekend,
who's hot right now. South Carolina could arguably be one of the top 5 to 10 teams in the country.
South Carolina, his defensive line is honestly one of the best, if not the best defensive line in college football.
Yeah, they're really good. They are really good. By the way, as we speak, Boise State is only up 14-7 on Oregon State, and Colorado is at 21-0. Colorado needs a lot of things to happen in order for me to go enjoy Jerry World.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, they don't need that much. They need one team to lose in order to get into in order to get back into the Big 12 title.
BYU.
Yeah, BYU. Either BYU or Iowa State or Arizona State. Actually, I think 2 of those 3 things that happen. I think BYU is going to lose. I don't think BYU is that good.
You don't think BYU is going to make it?
I think BYU sucks.
You out on BYU?
I've been out on BYU ever since I saw BYU in that Utah game. I've been out on BYU. I don't think they're that good.
Okay. Now, BYU has had BYU. I will say this has had some very entertaining games this year. I really enjoyed them. Some of those games have been, the late night game. They're up there with Colorado, Boise State, and all that because they're on the West Coast. So it's been fun watching them. That BYU Utah game that was awesome. That was a good game.
I also think I think Iowa State could lose.
You think Iowa loses?
Iowa State could lose to Kansas State. Dude, Kansas State's no scrub.
Kansas State is not a scrub. Kansas State is listen, when you go to Manhattan, Kansas, and you got to play out there and it's cold and snowing, or it's just cold in general, like, that's hard, dude. And listen, I know Iowa State gets cold, but
Kansas, they don't get cold like it does over there in Kansas.
Dog, Kansas is different, dog. I went out there one time, and I had never, mind you, there's only been a handful of times where I've been out and it's like, okay, this is really cold. And that was a different type of cold. And they don't have nothing much out there. They're not really hilly. They're not like Austin. They're not like, it's, we got hills and stuff. Like, it's flat. And it's it's real cold.
I think that's what makes those places like cold. But then you got a place like Colorado that gets even colder because it is, mountains and stuff. So the higher you go up, obviously, naturally, the colder it gets because there's less like, but
Right.
and then elevation and all that stuff. But anyway, nobody cares about that whack ass. Let's talk
You had to
about
get your shot off.
our
You had to get your shot
oh,
off. You had to get
kidding.
your shot off.
And just let Brett Yormark. I'm sure he's going to be really excited to hand uh, Arizona State a trophy this year. When he could be handing Texas. He ran him out of time. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about this game, Tim. So before this week, or before the Quinn injury, I had zero doubt that Texas would beat.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I had zero doubt was because, yes, it's at Kyle Field. Yes, I get, it's been 13 years. Hurrah, hurrah. People like whatever. When you look at the X's and the O's, A&M's offense is not good.
No.
Their defense has been getting run over the last 3 weeks. And it starts to feel like maybe, just maybe, the Texas offensive line is starting to figure out the run game looked very good last week.
Right.
They actually dominated a pretty good Kentucky interior defensive line. The interior of that defensive line for Kentucky.
Right.
And it looked like we finally saw a veteran offensive line just kind of lean in on them.
Yep.
And I think you could see the same thing this week now because the strength of the A&M defensive line is their pass rush, and that's the challenge that's going to have to happen. So,
yeah.
But what are your thoughts on why you think about that,
Albie? Okay. So I want to kind of go over a couple of things here before. I'm going to kind of list off some stats, per game stats here. I'd always like to bring in stats because they do play a major factor in most times. However, when you're dealing with when you're dealing with a rivalry game, a lot of this stuff kind of goes out the window. But I still want to bring up some things because it is actually very alarming. So I'm just going to go down the line here. I'm going to tell you who has what. Texas will be first, A&M will be second. So points scored per game. Texas scores 36.5 points per game. A&M scores 32. Points allowed. Texas only allows 12 points to A&M's 21. Passing yards. Texas is 279 to A&M's 208. Rushing yards, this is actually really interesting. Rushing yards per game, Texas is 169 versus A&M's 208. That's really important, and I'll cover that in a second. Total yards, Texas is 449. A&M is 414. Yards allowed is 247 to A&M's 356. Turnover margins, Texas is 0.07 to A&M's 0.04. All of this sounds great on paper. The alarming thing is that A&M is able to run the ball. And A&M, again, if you're able to win the game in the trenches, that could really do some situations and put you in some really bad situations where you're dealing with time, and that can really affect you, especially if A&M is able to put points on the board. That can definitely do some things. I don't think that A&M is going to be able to put up a massive amount of points on the board. I'm just really excited about this defense and what they've done so far. We've talked about it all year, even into the offseason, about who was going to step up on the defensive line, whether it be Trey Moore, Alfred Collins, how are these linebackers going to do with Anthony Hill Jr., George Blanda, Bonda, and so our strongest feat has been our secondary. They've been able to create turnovers. They've been able to put us in some really good situations, and that is really what has given me the confidence when going into these battles against SEC teams. And to not have too many teams put up over 30 points and to really have maybe one or two to score over 20 is really, really great. So that's really impressive. If A&M is able to run the ball, that could be a problem. That's the only outline, because A&M does have a decent running back, and he can put the ball on the ground and he can move. He can scoot and he can move. So outside of
A&M's only good running back is hurt, and he hasn't played in 6 weeks, and I think he might be out again.
Ooh.
Actually, no, he's out for the season. Le'Veon Moss. That was their saving grace, and I think A&M fans will tell you this. Their saving grace in the run game was Le'Veon Moss. Now they've got Ruben Owens. They got guys that are talented, but even last year, Ruben Owens only averaged like 3 yards.
Right.
A&M's not going to be able to run the ball, so it's going to have to be, Marcel Reed has to win this game.
Yeah.
I just don't. Regardless of now, the Texas offense,
Mm-hmm.
can they put up enough points with a hobbled? You know what they do? If Arch Manning plays, they're just going to throw the ball because they're going to dust that second. They're just going to say, you know what? Everybody run, 4 verticals, 9 routes. We're gonna NCAA this. And
I don't think it's going to be a situation where we're just going to go deep all the time. I do think that you have, like, with the way A&M has been able to, their defensive, defending the deep ball has not been really good at all this year. It's actually been bottom of the barrel. It's been really bad. So I can see Sark, coming up with some concepts and getting some guys out in space. This is what I think is going to end up happening. If Quinn is not 100%, which I don't believe he is, I think you don't think that he's 100%. Based on these reports, he's a little dinged up. We just don't know how bad, right?
Yeah.
I don't see him pushing the ball down the field. But there's going to be a lot of screens. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to get people out into space. And there's going to be a lot of things there's going to be a lot of quick passes to make these guys try to miss, these A&M guys try to miss, for these Texas receivers to go kind of yard, honestly. That's what I think is going to happen. I do think we're going to see a lot of dinking and dunking, especially to get Quinn in a rhythm in the beginning.
I think you are going to see that regardless, right? Quinn being in a rhythm is what this is all about. I'm about to check real quick.
Okay.
My good old PFF. I'm curious.
While you're doing that, I'd like to just A&M has just flipped a quarterback.
Huh?
Yeah, A&M.
Oh, yeah. In recruiting.
Yeah, they just flipped a 4-star quarterback that was looking at going to. Let me get the better details on this. 4-star QB Hart flipping from A&M from Michigan, plans to move to 2025. Now, this was a kid that was supposed to go to Michigan this year and potentially be the starting quarterback, Brady Hart, excuse me. But we all know what happened earlier this week with LSU getting their quarterback, Underwood, poached and, taken by Michigan. Michigan dropped that load of cash on the table. So Hart leaves Michigan, comes to A&M. He's a dual threat quarterback. He can move and he can scoot. He's also 6'5", and he's from Florida. And he's he's reported to flip, I guess, a couple of hours ago, like 2 hours ago. And he's reclassifying for 2025. So he's going to be on the field next year. So shout out to them for getting that guy. I mean, when the way these things are going to go, and the way I'm excited for next week as well. Like, the stuff that is going to happen next week is going to be absolutely insane. Just the transfer portal is opening. You got conference championships. Like, all of this stuff is happening all at one time. Like, conference championship, You got NFL Sunday, Monday, transfer portal opens. A lot of people are already making announcements that they're entering the transfer portal, and a lot of reports are
Well,
already,
I think the transfer portal doesn't open until the 20th. I think National Signing Day.
Is it National Signing Day? I thought the transfer
Yeah, the
portal opened on
transfer
the 9th.
portal is in between the first round and the second and the semi and the quarters.
Okay. For
Uh,
some reason, I thought they opened on the 9th. My bad. My bad,
Let
guys.
me see. No, actually, early National Signing Day is on the 20th.
So the transfer portal opens on the 9th.
Transfer portal. And this is a little bit different than it has been in the past. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot.
This is all new.
So, all right. Transfer portal opens. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
I want to say it's December 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Transfer portal. Transfer portal. Let's see. It doesn't say when it opens.
Yeah.
When does the transfer portal? Oh yeah, it is December 9th.
Yeah. So, yeah,
The
right
transfer
after the
portal opens
conversation.
before national. Okay. Oh wow, that's gonna be insane.
Yeah. So you could see you're gonna see some kids that could potentially be playing on Saturday enter the transfer portal on that following week, that new week. So
Yeah,
um
after a conference championship.
after the conference championship. So it's gonna be entertaining, man. It's a lot of stuff going on. You got early signing day, not too far from here. Like it's a lot. It's a lot going on. But um what do you think are the key components to A&M in this Texas game? With Texas going up there, Saturday is going to be rowdy.
Are
We know how
you? Yeah. Are you talking for a Texas victory or for an A&M victory?
I'm talking for both. What do you think are both? Like I said, I think if A&M is able to run the ball, I think that puts a strain on Texas.
I think so too.
Yeah,
And I think it's less of like if Marcel Reed is able to move the ball, that puts
Mm.
that. But the thing is like Texas has faced 4 quarterbacks.
yeah,
They've only allowed a total of 90,
yeah,
which is really good. This Texas. Here's the thing about the Texas defense that has really impressed me this year, and it's less of like, um, it's less of the fact that the defense is, uh, actually played well in this game, and it's more of the speed that's on this team,
yeah,
right? The speed of this defense has been really impressive, especially at the linebacker position. Now, a guy we haven't heard a lot of in recent weeks is Michael Benda,
hmm
and or sorry, David Benda,
yeah,
and I think he's going to be huge in this game. I think he's going to be a guy, as you talk about, like downhill football players, guys that just get to the ball. I
yeah,
think he's going to be somebody that's going to be really important.
yeah,
Um, I think defensive line integrity is going to be really important, making sure you hold your gaps up, you stay in your gaps, all the basic fundamental stuff you set,
yeah,
right? And then it's all about eye candy, right? I don't know if I don't remember A&M doing a lot of motion, or they don't really do a lot of that stuff. They are just kind of more like a line it up and go type of
yeah.
offense. So you don't have to worry about that, right?
hmm
But you are going to have to. It will be physical just because of the magnitude of this game. You're on the road. This defense is going to have to stay focused. And the
Right.
great thing about this defense is that they've traveled well. Listen, Texas hasn't lost a true road game in nearly in 2 years.
Yeah.
So going to Aggie, going like that stuff doesn't concern me. I honestly think Texas will be fine, right? It's going to be about the mental piece of this. I think this team is veteran enough at this point. They've gone into some pretty hostile environments, whether it's night, day, afternoon, sunset, whatever you want to call it, right? So I'm not worried about that piece. I think the key is going to be the secondary. I believe is going to lock down because these A&M receivers aren't very good.
Right.
And Marcel Reed, while he can throw and he can throw pretty well on the run,
Yep.
he's not even remotely close to quarterback Quinn is, yet alone anything else. Right? But he's very good. He's still young. right?
He's
He's
still
still
very
young,
young.
so
Yeah,
he will develop into a pretty solid quarterback.
yeah.
He's just not
He's just not there
that.
yet. I think I think he the only
What do you
reason
mean?
why I think he poses a threat is that if you roll in there and you don't think that he can make the throws, I think you could pay
Right?
for it. And I
Yeah.
think, I think utilizing his feet could potentially open up, opportunities for him to either run or to make a deep ball play.
Yep.
Even though Texas has been on lockdown, like um the only reason why I'm even harping on that is because of the nature of the game. If this was
Yeah.
just regular, any old other Saturday, like let's get this game out the way. That's the only reason I'm doing that is because it's different when rivals play. It really doesn't matter where you are in the season. Something crazy or berserk can end up happening, and that's the last thing that we want. Um,
Yep. Sure.
I definitely think that Texas needs to go in there and they really got to dominate themselves. They have to absolutely make that A&M crowd go silent. They have to. I hope, I'm hoping that where they're practicing this week and since that Kentucky game, that they've really been able to like focus on like snap counts and making sure that they're pumping audio into the field and stuff like that, so that because it's going to be loud and that offensive line is not going to be able to hear. And so when you're able to take that crowd out of the situation, that's one less thing that the offensive line and the quarterbacks got to worry about. Jake is a hell of a center, and he's never played there. So this is all going to be new for them,
Yeah.
minus maybe some transfers, but this is going to be all new for them. And so I'm excited, man. I can't express how grateful I am to have this rivalry back because it's done so much for the sport, and it's done so much for even like recruiting. It's done a lot for just the state in general. Like we used to have that and then we didn't, and now the fact that we're being able to get it back is dope, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's I think that's also the flip side of this is what does the Texas offense look like? Right? And I
Yeah,
think that does play a factor too.
yeah,
If just because of Quinn's injury, right?
yeah,
So establishing a run game is going to be really important. These defensive ends, they're pass rushers, so you might have an opportunity with this offensive line to think that they over pursued a lot because they will, right?
yeah.
Because their main goal is to get through and get to the quarterback, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of the motion, what A&M doesn't do is a lot of the motion, right? So their defense isn't used to seeing it. What Texas will do is a lot of motion, and so
Yeah, they're
how
gonna
do you
use a
keep
lot.
that
They're gonna
defense
they're gonna try
honest,
to.
right?
Yeah.
I think you'll see some trickery this week, and I think you'll see like a lot of motion, like plays similar to what you saw in that Florida game, where
Mhm.
they had the double motion, and then they
That
flipped
was
it to the
awesome.
running back.
That was awesome. Yeah.
I think you'll see a lot of that type of stuff to test the eyes of the Aggies, right?
Okay.
And things like that will quiet that crowd. I think the one thing that you can bank yourself on is if Texas goes up early in this game, even 10-0 or 14
Yeah,
nothing,
I think it might be done.
I think A&M's in trouble.
Yeah, I think so
A&M's
too.
gonna have to keep this game
They
close in order to
they
have a
got
chance.
to, bro. They got to.
They won't come back this week like they did last week against Auburn because
That's
Marcel Reed is not going to be able to throw all over this defense. And if he's put in a situation where he's going to have to throw a lot, A&M's a
yeah.
so
My last question, and then we can move on here. Outside of getting a score, what if you were Coach Sark right now, it's Black Friday. You didn't ate turkey, y'all didn't had a good time, you kick your feet up, and now you got to go back to work. Today you walk into the facility, Quinn's still not 100%. If you were Coach Sark, what would you do? Would you start Quinn or would you put in Arch? What are you doing?
I think not being at 100% is such a relative term. I
Right.
think it depends on what percentage of 100.
If Well, I'll put it like this: if you're
85.
injured, you're hurt. If you're injured, you need to sit down. If you're hurting, you
You
can
play.
play. Right.
Yeah. But I think like if he's 85% or above, he plays.
Okay.
If he's less than 85, if he's like between like let's just say he's been like 70 and 80, he plays and you see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, you put Archer.
Okay.
If he's anything below 70%, he shouldn't play.
Okay. This is what I'm doing. And then we can go scores and then we can move on. If I'm Coach Sark and I'm in a situation where I walk into the facility and he's still not hurt, he's still not healthy, I want to see what he can do when he pushes off that whatever foot it is. I don't know if it's his right foot. I think it's his right.
I think
foot.
it was because it's his plant foot.
Okay.
Right.
So I want to see what he looks like. I want to see him throw a deep ball with no pads on. And then if he's wincing, if he's doing anything of that nature, I think my focus changes. I think my playbook kind of changes, and it's going to be more mid, quick passes again, getting the ball out, things like that. And if he's not able to do that, I'm putting Arch in, and that's really on a game time decision. I feel that this is going to come down to a game time decision. If
How much preparation do you think Arch has had this week?
Oh, he's definitely got first. I think he's had first team reps split automatically. Like they're in a position where they can't not have Arch prepared. I think for the entire year, Arch has taken like half of Quinn's reps. I truly believe that because
half.
Quinn has not been healthy, dog, all year. It was if you think about it, the first time he got hurt, he was gone for
he was gone. Yeah.
4 to 6 games. Then last year he got hurt, he was gone 2 games. Yep. This year it's been 2-3 games. Well, 2 games in a bye. So that's 3 weeks, right? You can't not have a quarterback like that in your back pocket and not have him taking the reps because you don't necessarily know how one hit can take out your starting quarterback. And it's not anything against Quinn. He's just had some freaky injuries, dog.
He's had some bad luck.
He's had some terrible injuries, dog. And it's like when he got dropped on the shoulder, you're like, that's freaky. Then the situation with the sternum, the sternum
was crazy. The second AC joint was weird.
Right.
The sternum was strange. And then you come into this year and the oblique was really weird.
The oblique, non-contact, and then the ankle.
Yeah. And now the ankle.
That's a series of unfortunate injuries, dog.
So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, listen, and I think that's kind of where I put it is, those percentages there. If he's anything above 80%, you have to at least go.
Yeah, he's got to start for sure. Yeah. But if he at any point in time, I see a struggle, I would say that Arch has got to be there. Yeah. I would not be surprised if Arch never takes off his helmet tomorrow.
Yeah. Just real quick, shout out to all you guys. 240 people here.
Yes.
If you guys are not following on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, comment button if you guys want to join in on the conversation. Of course, we're previewing Texas A&M. We're about to give our scores, but go into the YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe on the video. 240 is insane. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. I think this is the most we've had ever watched our show. We really appreciate the support. And continue to follow us on Twitter, X. We do have a Blue Sky account set up. If you're on Blue Sky, hit us up there as well. We'll start to put that in our ticker as well. But thank you guys for tuning in. So Tim, we've kind of broken this game down a few different ways. I think nothing too crazy. Sitting where we sit today, what would you predict? What would you predict the score to be?
I've got Texas 34-20. So
really,
yeah. So the reason I got Texas 34-20 is because I feel that there is going to be a situation like last week where uh, there's going to be a lot of clock left. I think there's going to be Texas is going to have the ball. I think Texas will have the ball often, and then I think at one point Texas has got to run that ball, and you got to get in there. You got to run the ball. Your quarterback's not 100%. We don't. Well, let's just put it like this: we don't know the status of the quarterback. So your best friend is your running game. That is something that you can do on the road. You can run the ball on the road. So let's do that. I think that Texas will try to push the ball down the field? Absolutely. I think they do that in the first half. And depending on how healthy Quinn is, I determines on if they continue to do that.
Yeah.
I think what ends up happening is I think that Texas does put the ball in the air early, build up a lead, okay, and then they proceed to run the ball to protect Quinn and keep him healthy.
Do
I
you think
don't think
there's a defensive touchdown in your score? Either way, I
there's
think
a
there'll be some
possibility.
turnovers.
I think.
I think there'll be
Oh,
some
okay.
turnovers.
So yeah, I definitely feel that there'll be a turnover, maybe a potential scoop and score situation. I definitely see that in there. But for me, the main thing is like I'm thinking about the first half, the first quarter, what they plan on
Yeah,
doing. Are
the
they going
opening
to put the
script.
ball in the air? And that's what I believe. I think Quinn will come out. He'll put the ball in the air, and depending on how good he does, we'll either continue to have him to put the ball in the air. If not, if they can build up a good lead, on defense, get a couple turnovers, couple short fields. I think that you get that situation where you're able to build up a lead and be like, hey, let's protect our guy, let's get him healthy, let's get our guys in that need to be, that are banged up, let's get them on the sideline, and let's run the ball and milk this clock and trust our defense. I think it's basically the same game plan that you saw against Kentucky. You're going to see it at A&M.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think Texas wins this game, but I think it's gonna be a messy game. And I still put in that rivalry aspect
Mm-hmm.
into this going into Kyle Field. Um, this is A&M Super Bowl because if you think about it, right, everything that A&M can do with this season lies in this game,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
plus, they would hate to be the reason why Texas gets into the SEC title game their first year in the conference, and it's been 14 years for A&M, and they still haven't even been able to. Like this is the closest A&M has ever gotten to being in the conference,
Yeah.
and they've been in the league 13 years.
Yeah.
Here comes Big Bad Big Brother, year one, and they're one game away from being in the conference.
Yeah.
I think that plays a little bit of
Okay.
on the field. I don't think A&M is better than. I don't think they're
I agree.
remotely close to being better.
Okay.
I think they've got a lot of good players, but they don't have elite players that like Texas does. I think
Okay.
they might have one or two really elite players, and I think it's the Turner brothers, right? The defensive
Yep.
ends. I think that's it. Beyond that, they've got good players. Um, and look, it's I will give A&M credit. It's year one of Elko. I did not expect this from them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one thing A&M fans were right about is you don't see the circus at A&M that you saw with Jimbo. You
No.
do see a head coach with substance. Mike
Mm-hmm.
Elko is a good head coach. Mike Elko led Duke to a 10-win season. Let's be honest. The
Yeah.
dude's a good coach.
Yeah.
The thing that's going to be challenging with Mike Elko is can he recruit consistently? And we'll see what he does in the transfer portal 1 year in, right? I think that's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I just don't think the talent level, and this is a game where it's like talent matters at the end of the game and
Yeah.
experience matters. This Texas team at this point, all the seniors have been to any environment you can name at any point in time and day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be even an ounce worried about.
Okay.
I don't think Kyle Field plays a factor. I actually think Kyle Field is one of the most overrated home field advantages.
Really?
I don't think it's that big of a. I don't think they make it that big of a deal. A&M makes it a big deal because they're a bunch of weirdos. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. Listen, if you're losing to Notre Dame, you're losing to some of the teams they've lost to at home over the last 10 years, then it's not a home field advantage. It's just a weirdo thing that you try to make it to be yourself. And if you have to say that the crowd is the 12th man in order to prove your point, then that just tells me that you don't believe in your home crowd. And you have to make it a point to believe that, the home crowd plays a factor. I think what also adds to their perception of home field advantage is the weirdo activity.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah. It's I think it's more of like the cultish behavior of A&M versus like there's a true
Right.
that makes it the perception that they're the home field. I think Texas has been a much more difficult environment to play in. They went to Michigan earlier this year, big house, where over 100,000 people were there to basically eventually support a 5.
Yeah.
They went to Alabama last year and completely, really like manhandled a Nick Saban team that people thought weren't that good, but ended up making it.
Yeah.
They've been into some tough environments. They went to Arkansas. Dude, you think A&M hates Texas? Arkansas hates Texas, and
Oh,
they went into Arkansas and manhandled Arkansas. Did the game get a little bit gritty? Sure, I think it did. But at the end of the
right.
day, they've been into this environment. Texas also has the opportunity to do something a Texas team hasn't done in a long time, and that's beat A&M, OU, and Arkansas in the same. That that is the icing on top to why Stark was the right guy, and I think they get it.
Okay. So what's your score?
27-17.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I'm
And,
not mad at that at all.
I just don't think A&M has the offensive chops. Now next year will be really interesting. See Marcel Reed's progression because I think Connor Wakeman is going to transfer out. It is going to be very interesting when they come down to Austin. Next year we could be talking about a 2-loss Texas team coming into next year.
Yeah.
Based on how things are going, like you have to go to Georgia. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
You have to go to the Swamp, and DJ Lagway is playing really well. That's going to be tough.
Yep.
Marcel Reed should, at this rate, continue to progress. Right?
Oh yeah, he'll. I think he'll progress. I think so.
You get to play Ohio State next year at the shoe to start the season. Like I think next year's schedule is a lot tougher than this year's schedule.
Oh, for sure.
And of course OU is always going to be tough. So
yeah,
I think next year's schedule is going to be very interesting, and you're breaking in a brand new quarterback. And no matter what his name is,
yeah.
Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning will have some trouble.
Yeah,
but I think having some of the experience he's had this year will really help. But I think you'll still see moments because he's the first year starter.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do have Texas winning 27-17. I do think that this defense is going to, I don't know if shut down is the right word, but they will contain Marcel Reed. He will not rush for over 50.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident. So then you lean on how does A&M get points? I think because of Quinn's health, there's an opportunity for a scooping squad.
Mm-hmm.
I can get like a pick 6 right now. Is it at an opportune time? I don't know, but if Texas gets out to a fast lead, which I hope they do, A&M is not coming out because this is not Auburn.
Right.
Texas's defense is not Auburn's marshmallow defense. This will be the best defense that A&M faces.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that the only other thing we've got to go over is movement in the college football playoff. There's a lot of it. You ready to dive into it?
Yeah, we can knock it out here.
Some new faces.
Some faces you've been talking about all year. So
some new faces. It's almost like we come onto this show and it's like we know what we're talking about. The arrogance is there, right?
Right.
Before the beginning of the season. SMU is a team you need to watch out for. Behold. And I think SMU is going to win the ACC. I do think SMU is better than Miami. I do think SMU could be better than Clemson. You obviously don't think that because you're Clemson guy. I think Clemson's played really well. I do think SMU is the best team in that conference.
I'm beginning to teeter. Okay. We will see here. When if if Clemson can beat South Carolina, who has played a lot of close games, I will feel a lot more comfortable because I think South Carolina will be the best defensive line that. Yeah, I think they'll be the best defensive line outside of Georgia that Clemson has played all year. So yeah, but other than that, dude, what are your thoughts on Georgia and Tennessee? How about that? What are your thoughts on that?
That's juicy right there. I
Yeah.
want this game to stay because of that reason. So here's the thing: I don't think that'll end up being the matchup,
Right.
but I think Georgia will end up slipping a little bit, maybe to like 9 or 10,
Okay.
because they're not going to win the SEC, right? And so,
Right.
then Georgia could be completely out of it because then you have to start.
It could be. Yeah.
You let a 3-loss team in. It doesn't matter if they have the number 1 strength of
Do
schedule.
you let a
They
3-loss Georgia in and a potential 3? Do you let a Georgia in or a Clemson in if they both lose?
You let Georgia in because Georgia beat Clemson.
Okay, that's true.
That's where head-to-head matters, right? Georgia beats Clemson, so you let Georgia.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And then, it says there that Alabama is the second team out. I think Alabama should be completely done. Like, there's no chance you're going to tell me Alabama deserves any shot at being in the playoff. I think that's absolutely ridiculous that they're even talking about it, right? Alabama should be completely out of the playoff. When you lose a game like they lost last week, I don't care if you had to go to OU. OU is a 5-loss team.
Yeah.
They were disgustingly terrible.
Yep.
They were disgustingly terrible. And what we saw, that you cannot tell me that any ounce of anything deserves to be in the from that out. Like they look. And Jalen Milroe, honestly, I thought he would excel under Kalen DeBoer. I feel like he's.
I think he's taking a step back. Outside. Okay, so outside of after that Wisconsin game, I felt like he just feels like he should just run the ball if he can't get to Ryan Williams. And Ryan Williams is a special talent, but like
he doesn't seem happy. You know what?
All he does is it's like if he doesn't see Williams, he doesn't throw to him and he just runs. And there's nothing wrong with listen. Jalen Milroe can run. He is one of the best running quarterbacks we've seen in a little bit of time. But you can't do that, and you can't win games being one-dimensional. And I feel at times that Alabama is very, very, very one-dimensional.
Yeah, they are. I think Ryan Williams is going to transfer.
Yeah.
I've heard that rumor already that he's ready to enter the transfer portal. I don't know if he comes to Texas, but I secretly hope he does. Because Ryan Williams with Ryan Wingo and training next year would be fun.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, I'm just speaking really softly. I was going to say I kind of hope Ryan Williams transfers to Texas. I don't think he will. Because I think Ryan Williams with Ryan Wingo and Arch Manning would be a deadly combination. I don't think there would be a better offensive line. So that's just selfish me. That's what I want.
That's so selfish. That's so
selfish. Well, and also you've got the best quarterback wide receiver developer in the country.
Right.
And Sark. Right. So, but Alabama's not in this playoff. And then I look at the rest. Here's my lock for the playoffs so far. Let me know what you think.
Okay.
Obviously, Oregon, Ohio State are locks.
Okay.
I think Texas is a lock. After everything that happened last week, it used to matter what, like tomorrow, if Texas loses tomorrow, right? Let's just say they lose. The worst seed that they could be
5.
10.
10?
I think that's the worst they can push them down.
Okay.
If we're talking about, I don't think they get pushed down to 10, but I think the worst they can get pushed down to 10. Right?
Oh.
I think Indiana is a lock. I think.
You think Indiana's a lock?
Yeah. Here's the reason why.
Okay.
Indiana's a lock because of everybody else that lost. Like Bama losing, Georgia losing, not
Right.
Georgia, Ole Miss losing, locks Indiana, right? Because again, you're not going to put in a 2 or a 3-loss team over a 1-loss team. You're just not going to do it.
Right.
Like that would be messed up, right?
Right.
I think Notre Dame's a lock as much as well. Actually, I don't know if Notre Dame's a lock. If Notre Dame loses to USC.
Notre Dame, Notre Dame annoys me. Not from a
I don't
standpoint.
think Notre Dame's that good. I don't care. I don't care if they beat everybody by
4. I understand what Notre Dame and they feel that they need to be independent, but like, dog, you really like this is going to hurt you in the end. If they mess around and like, let's say they were to lose over the weekend, that's on them. That's truly on them. Now, do I think they're going to lose? No, they're not going to lose. But in the case that if they do, or if they were to lose, like it's their fault. Like they don't have any conference championships. That doesn't help. They could slide. They could literally slide right on out of this thing because they don't have the conference championship.
Well, they're only hoping to get it, so they're automatically the best they can be as a 5 seed because they're not going to be a conference champion. That's the best they can ever be, and so they'll never get a first. They will never get a bye. That's got to make them.
Yeah, it's never happening. Yeah, that will never happen.
It will never happen, right? But I think those are probably your 4 locks: Oregon, Texas, Ohio State.
Yeah. I think
even SMU's in danger, right? Because they lose one. Let's just say they lose on tomorrow. They're out because now you've got a really bad loss, and you have to compare your resume to all these other SEC schools.
Yeah.
You're out, right? So I like where this is. I want to get a check. The other team that's in danger is Boise. If Boise loses today, they're done. They are done. And maybe if Boise loses, they might open the door for Big 12.
Right.
Because then you say, do you let the Big 12 champion back in? Which right now it's Arizona State. But Arizona State cannot lose. Right? Because then you say, let's just say Colorado gets into the Big 12 title game. You let a three-loss champion in?
Well, a 3-loss champion, they would have to get in. They would have to get in because if they're a part of the Power 4, they would have to get in.
They would have to, but then they would have to be higher ranked than the.
They would be on the road, but they would get in.
They would have to be higher ranked than the Group of 5 champion in order to get in.
Right. Okay. So let's say if Colorado was to win a Big 12, right, with the losses
Colorado is currently ranked
25.
Let's just play a hypothetical, right? Let's say Colorado's
25 right now.
Yeah. Let's just say Boise loses.
Right.
Would Colorado jump Boise? So that means is Boise dropping more than 8 spots? Because I think minimum that's where. Well, actually they would because Colorado would win. Let's just say Colorado wins the Big 12. Boise doesn't have a conference. Yeah, so I think they would jump.
It's nasty. I don't like it, but it would happen.
Man, and at that point, now you're playing semantics. We need to see
Dion. That's where all of this is really.
I want to see Dion in the playoffs over Boise State. Listen, I like the Ashton Genty stuff. Like, I think that's really cool. But I'd love to see Coach Prime go into one of these.
That would be this would be the craziest college football playoff. We probably
might have been the best college football season of all time. So let's just add on to it.
Yeah, I think I think that they would find a way to make sure that if Colorado wins out and if Colorado gets the help that they need to get to the Big 12 championship, they're going to make it. They're going to make it regardless of them having 3 losses or not. Is it going to be confidential? Absolutely. But you know what that playoff committee is going to want? They're going to want them ratings and they're going to want that bread. And that's all that matters at that point. And especially if they're a champion, they're going to have a reason to vie for them to be in the playoff. That is just simple and plain on how it is. It makes me want to kind of play around with college football, EA Sports college football, kind of go in there, play God, maybe have a couple losses, add a couple losses to a team, see if they're able to still get into the conference championship, and like see if they're like, if they, let's say that they lose 3 games, but they win out in their bowl game. They win out in their conference, they win majority of their conference games. Do they still get in? And kind of just sim through it to see what happens. I'm definitely going to do that within the next couple of days that we got here. We got a full slate of games here, including today. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games right now, or no, 6 games. Ole Miss in Mississippi.
Egg Bowl here in an hour, and
Yeah.
that'll be a game to watch for sure. Another rivalry game.
Yeah.
Oh, Georgia Tech. Georgia's tonight.
Yeah. I'm gonna be looking forward to that. Georgia Tech has played spoiler for a lot of teams
That's
this
a
year.
very interesting game, especially for a Georgia team that's not played well.
Yeah.
They could slip up and mess up their only hope if they lose is by winning the SEC.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting. Any final thoughts on this? Is there anybody on this bracket that surprises you at this moment?
Nobody surprises me. Again, I think there's a real danger for Notre Dame because they don't have that. They don't have that conference championship. I think that could really hurt them. I know for a fact that they don't really have much to play for. This USC game is going to be very, very important for them. If USC pulls this off, and beats them, I don't think they deserve to be in it because they don't have anything else to run off of. You give that spot to somebody who has competed for a conference championship.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Notre Dame: if they lose to USC, they're completely done. Now you've lost to NIU, which is bad enough as it is.
Yep.
And you also lose to a 5-loss USC. I think Notre Dame's completely done.
Do you think Notre Dame beats USC this weekend?
I could see it. You know what I see this game as? I see this game as classic USC.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They choke it. But I think USC, they need this game to make a bowl, right? No, they don't.
No, they're 6-5, so no.
6-5. So they don't need this game. But hey, it's always fun to play spoiler against your rival.
For sure. And that's what all this that's what we like. We like the chaos, and it's been chaotic these last couple of weeks for sure.
Well, hey, Tim, we've great show today. Almost 300 people watched today.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys watching. Again, go to YouTube, subscribe, like, comment. We'll be here every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. ranking the best of Texas as we start to wrap the football season up. Basketball season has started. Texas has looked pretty good. They win the tournament the other day, beating Syracuse. I think that team is starting to come around, and they're going to get tested here in a couple of weeks against UConn, who's lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I never thought we would be saying that, but UConn is they've not looked good. So Texas women's play tonight. Of course, they're going to hope to continue their undefeated season. And I think they play like New Mexico State or something like that.
Yeah, New Mexico State. It's New Mexico State. Yeah, for sure.
So they play 6:30 tonight. Texas men's play. What is this? Delaware State.
Yeah.
They play Delaware State SEC Network at 8:00, and then Texas will get a little bit of. They'll play NC State on Wednesday of next week, and then you get UConn on Sunday next week. So.
Yep.
Lots happening on the 40. Football season is wrapping. Basketball season is starting, and we'll be covering it all here. Here at Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast, of course. Tim, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Tim Wayne on Twitter. You can find me at Tim Wayne on Blue Sky as well. Guys, I really appreciate you guys interacting with us on the TikTok page. That has been fun. Gaining a little bit of steam there. gaining more followers week after week. Again, guys, continue to follow us. We will. It is getting to, even though football season is wrapping up, there are very, 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 very important things going on. Again, with signing day, with transfers, with early signing day, bowls and seating and things like that. Of course, we're always hoping to have that first round bye so that we don't have to worry about, going to someone else's home in the middle of November, end of November, beginning of December. So, again, if you want to talk football, of course, you guys can always hit me up. Let's talk football. But yeah, make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe. Again, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Blue Sky. And yeah, man, let's get to it. We're at the end of the fourth quarter. We're in the home stretch. So hopefully Longhorns can get in there, go to A&M, go to Kyle Field, get that W, and get out healthy. That's that's so important right now. Health is so important. Depth is so important right now. And I think we have a real legitimate shot at winning a national championship. I have not said that, and to finally be able to say that is like, it's refreshing to be able to be like, listen, we got a legitimate shot. The big dogs that we thought would be there, they're there, but they got some chinks in the armor, and Texas has the opportunity to take advantage of that.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, listen, this is the next step of this era, right? And get us to that next level. And that next level is winning a couple of playoff games. I don't even think winning one is good enough. You've got to win a couple. If you have to play 4, that means you got to get to the semi. If you got to play 3, you get to the title. And right now, if you have to play 3 and you get into the dance as a 2 seed, you have the easiest road.
Yeah.
Again, let's just say hypothetically things stand as of today, and Texas wins the SEC in their 2 seed. You would have to play the winner of SMU Notre Dame. I'm not worried about either of those teams. And then you have to play either Indiana, Penn State, or Miami. I don't think any of those. Penn State might be the toughest out of all 3. But I don't think any of those.
I don't think Penn State has the offensive firepower to put up against a Texas on a neutral site. No,
it might be the toughest. Right? Because Miami doesn't have the defense. Miami doesn't have the defense to keep up with any Texas quarterback.
Right.
Indiana doesn't have the trenches to keep up with Texas.
Right.
I think Indiana, and we saw that against Ohio State. You can just run over Indy.
Yeah.
But Indiana is a very good team. They're a great coach. They will be.
They have the potential to do something special too. That, like, if that coach doesn't get gutted and get, if he doesn't get a big time opportunity.
I think he's going to stay. He's still young. Signetti feels like one of those guys that he wants to prove a point.
Yeah.
What better way to prove a point than to say you can be in the Big Bang?
Yeah, for sure.
Year 1, you get to playoff. I don't think he's.
I think there could be some potential offers that could possibly move to play. Yeah.
I mean, what big program is getting rid of guys?
I don't know what big program. Florida State, Baylor.
Baylor's not a program.
Baylor has not looked good this year.
But they're not. Baylor and Indiana are the same.
You think so?
Yes.
I think Baylor is a step up. The only reason why I feel like Baylor is a step up is because of where they're located. I think being in the state of Texas and playing college football,
sure.
Right?
But
right.
from a program perspective, they're the same. They're the exact same. They're mostly bad. They've had a couple of good years here and there.
Right.
They'll spark every now and then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but
it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, we'll see. We have a big game tomorrow. Of course, we'll be here to cover it all next week. Depending on what happens tomorrow, we might do a post game, or we'll do a post game on Sunday.
Yep.
And if we do that, we'll let you guys know. But between now and then, my name is Harish. My guy Tim.
Hook 'em.
Go home, touchdown like your end zone.